Jeff,
Very
your
good.
turn for the other competition that's going on.
So we made a deal this week. I was like, you tell me about county cricket, I'll tell you about the IPL. One thing you'll be very excited to know, which I hadn't picked up on yet, is that they've automated the no ball for height in the IPL. They're ball tracking that. So Hawkeye's now tracking it, and they've got pre-existing measurements for every player of their waist height, so they can tailor it. So they can track whether the ball is above waist height for a specific player at the crease, even if they've moved down the pitch to play it. So, if you come down, so there was an incident with Kohli during the last week where he cracked the shits because he charged at the bowler and then got the ball about, chin high and smacked it out into the deep and got caught. And then he was like, no, that was a no ball for height. And they're like, yeah, but you'd already come down the pitch. And if you were standing at your crease, we already know your waist height, and we already know it would have been below waist height by the time it got to you. So that's interesting.
What else are they measuring? The pre-existing measurements for all the players in the comp.
I've done them all. Yeah.
Anyway,
done
them all.
You have to time things wisely when it comes to measurements. So, I mean, that's something that we've talked about is whether they'd be able to figure out a way to do that. And they are doing that given that they've got all that player data on record. So I wonder if that's something they could start to do across international cricket from now on. And who's doing the measurements, and are they accurate, and all the rest of it, because you can't trust anyone to do their own. We know that. Right. Let's talk about a couple.
Right, take us into the cricket.
Let's talk about a. No, I mean but it's interesting. So as best I can tell, it's only called into action if a wicket falls off a high full toss, or if an umpire calls a no ball, then it gets checked. If they call it no ball for height, then it will be checked as to whether that's correct. But I think what that means is that if you bowled a high full toss and it wasn't called, unless the batting side reviewed it, it wouldn't get checked. So I don't think it's an automated check for every delivery. It's only an automated check for if it becomes an incident in the game, basically. Sorry, so it's a non-automated check. It's a choice to check to send that upstairs if required. So they're not checking every ball. So that's my understanding of it. I may be wrong there. Anyway, what have we been talking about in recent weeks? We've been talking about Sunrisers Hyderabad, and we've been talking about massive scores, and it just keeps happening. And Travis Head particularly being deeply involved with this. Oops, they did it again. Hyderabad made 266 for 7. So 3 times this season, Adam, they have broken what was the record for the highest IPL score before this season. They've gone past it 3 times in 6 games, 8 games.
This is Usain Bolt stuff. This is lowering the mark over and over again. That's I mean, I know there's been a lot of chat about the impact sub this week, and using the Hyderabad team as an example of one that can. I mean, it doesn't. You'll tell me more about this, but it feels like the top order is doing most of the punching here. It's not as though it's the all-rounder alone. But I get why Rohit Sharma has been. There wouldn't be many players in India who have the clout to say something which would be at odds with the position of the governing body, in this case the IPL, and Rohit's one of them. He's a big boy, he can take care of himself, and he said that he doesn't like what this does, not only to the comp but also to his national team, because when they go from playing IPL and they're used to a certain form of the game where that can be an awkward spot sometimes, your fifth bowler, where that is no longer a consideration. And then you go and play in a T20 World Cup where it very much is a consideration. It's a different sport, when you talk about marginal gains and all the rest of it. Yeah,
there's nowhere to hide at that point because you can't sub a player off to get a more qualified player in. But it's been a very run-heavy season, this one. And so there's, I think it's at a point where people are starting to talk about, has this gone too far in one direction, and do we need to try to bring it back? They're sort of talking about whether you should allow frontline bowlers to bowl more than 4 overs, stuff like that. But in a way, that just makes it worse, right? Because then you end up with 3 specialist bowlers, and then you've got an even more stacked batting lineup, and you'd probably get even higher scores because they can attack more. So I don't know.
Surely it's only in the margin. This must only be in the sort of our world, like the chattering class is talking about this though. Because
it's been on commentary. They've been talking about it with comms about the fact that it's been such a run heavy tournament. So look at this.
Because ordinarily the comms on these tournaments against very in line with the position of the and maybe I'm wrong here, but I would have thought that more sixes equals more money, doesn't it? More,
Maybe.
Instagram reels and more TikTok and more monetization of viral clips, and that's what sixes fundamentally are, right? They're content.
But also talking about something that's not right with the game and fixing it is like the thing that keeps sports punditry going. That's the fuel for the entire machine. This game, this power play is insane. First 6 overs here, they take 19 off the first over, 21 off the second, 22 off the third. Anurag Nortje has been belted this season. 21 off the fourth. They turn to Kuldeep Yadav to try to slow it down. They take 20 off him. Mukesh Kumar gets a bowl to try to slow it down. 22 off him. 125 off the first 6 overs. 125. This is Travis Head batting with Abhishek Sharma, right? Head is 84 off 26 balls at this point. Like, they're genuinely on track to make 300 here. They've got up 125 off 6. If they could keep up this rate, they'd probably make 350.
And the rest,
the field goes back, and Kuldeep's able to take a couple of wickets and slow things up a bit, which means they only make 266. But Travis Head 89 off 32, and then Shahbaz Ahmed makes 59 quickly down the order. Kuldeep 4 for 55. I wonder if that's the most expensive 4 for in T20s. Probably not. There's too many played for that to happen, but it's a pretty unusual set of figures from 4 overs. And then Jake Fraser-McGurk, batting first drop for Delhi, responds in the same kind of way. So Travis Head had made his 50 off 16 balls. Fraser-McGurk makes his 50 off 15 balls. Ends up with 65 off 18, including an over where he hits 3 sixes and 3 fours off Washington Sundar. Once he gets out, they're all out for 199. Amazingly, Natarajan, fresh back from Perth, takes 4 for 19. But the David Warner question's interesting in this. He's made some decent scores. He's made some 40s and 50s. He's made some low scores. He hasn't been scoring that quickly. When you look at what Travis Head's been doing through this tournament, and you look at like what Fraser McGurk's done in a couple of games that he's had, there's just this assumption that we were the same way, that go to the T20 World Cup, Warner opens because experience and all the rest of it. But like, he is not as explosive as some of the options that are going around at the moment. You look at what Travis Head's doing; he has to be one of the openers. And then I don't know, is there an argument that time has passed?
There might be, but I think it goes back to what I said before around how does T20 international cricket differ from the IPL, and to that end, Warner with all that experience, and I'm not saying that the T20 World Cup's a bigger stage than the IPL. It's probably not, but. I'd still be I wouldn't be inclined to play someone who's yet to really have much of an opportunity in international cricket at the top of the list in a World Cup like Fraser McGurk. He wouldn't be a bad bloke to have in the squad though, as a depth player if they feel like they're behind the punch a little bit, or if Maxwell got injured possibly.
But he's also a player who moved to a new state, walked out and banged a 20-ball 100, played his first IPL game, smashed 50 off 20 balls. Is doing the same again, doesn't seem to be afraid of anything, and you've got 5 pool matches in which there's only there's one sort of genuinely competitive one, and the other 3 that you'd expect if you're a top side you'd expect to win it. So do you give him those games and see what happens? I don't know. It's just something to ponder. Anyway, to move relatively quickly through the rest. That was the Delhi Capitals being thrashed around by Hyderabad. They did get a win, though, in the week or so since we've last looked at it. They beat Gujarat, which it's a lot easier in the run chase when you bowl out the other team for 89, which is what they did. So Mukesh Kumar, 3 for 14. Ishant Sharma, 2 for 8. Tristan Stubbs got a bowl, which he doesn't do much of, and took 2 for 11 off and over, which is a quaint set of figures. So the Delhi Capitals have managed to win 3 games after a poor start to the season. That's who Warner and Fraser McGurk are playing for. Rajasthan won a couple. They beat the Kolkata Knight Riders and the Mumbai Indians. So Rajasthan are top of the table at the moment. The Mumbai game was a thrashing. Mumbai set 180, seemed a decent score, had a bit of a wobble and recovered, but then Rajasthan chase it 1 wicket down. Jaiswal makes a ton, did it easily. Sandeep Sharma took 5 for 18 for them as well in that first innings, which is pretty remarkable for figures in a T20. The KKR game, so the Kolkata Rajasthan game, though, that was a belter. Sunil Narayan been following his work at the top of the order with interest versus Joss Butler, the Narayan Butler show. Kolkata make 223. Narayan, ton. T20 100. He's never made one before. Has now. 109 off 56. He loots their best spinners in Ashwin and Chahal, Yuzvendra Chahal, so two well-capped Indian players. Belts the shit out of them through the middle overs. Sunil Narayan's currently 7th in the league for runs, and he's scoring them faster than any of those ahead of him, aside from Travis Head. So, he's just having an absolutely ridiculous season with the bat and still bowling well. And then Butler comes out, and Butler did a hamstring a few days ago. He was strapped up. He was sort of hobbling. He looked tired. He was unhappy. He was uncomfortable, and he made 107 and got them to the win off the last ball of the innings at 8 wickets down while farming the strike in just, frankly, a ridiculous innings. They're nowhere near it 5 overs out from the end. And he ups the scoring. He takes a lot of runs off a Mitchell Stark over. Stark, who also bowls 5 wides in that over, goes for none for 50 off his 4. So Stark's he's had a couple of good games and a few absolute horrors. And Sunil Narayan bowls beautifully, takes 2 for 30 plus his 100 and still isn't player of the match because they give it to Butler for the run chase.
We were watching the run chase in the tavern next to Lord's before the Wisdom dinner, and usually you would file out of that pub a little bit earlier, but it was enough to keep people, I wouldn't say glued to their seats, but watching curiously on the big screen before we all walk next door to the pavilion.
So Kolkata, they lose on the last ball there.
Because he had to, by the way, I should say on that, by the way, Butler did take some calculated risks at the end. A number of times he declined a lot of singles. It was like at that point of that game where he's like, I'm just going to make sure I make all the runs myself. But you fall 1 run short and you've declined 7 singles or something like that. You can look a bit daft, but I suppose with all of his experience, it was always going to be a moment where he could get one away. And
at 8 wickets down, his options were limited. But the last ball defeat for Kolkata, then they get a win off the last ball against Royal Challengers Bangalore. Kolkata bat first, make 222. Phil Salt, 48 off 14, another one of those insane starts from an opener in the power play. In the chase, Will Jacks, coming into that RCB side, made 55. Rajat Patidar, who's, there's been a fair bit of attention on for various reasons in the last few months, made 52. Cameron Green came back but didn't make any runs. Poor season continues for him. Maxwell's not playing. Wickets falling. The last over of this game with RCB chasing, they're 8 down. They need 20. Dinesh Karthik gets out with 7 balls to go. So they come into the last over with Mitchell Stark bowling it. And Karan Sharma. Do you remember Karan Sharma?
Karan Sharma. Of course I do. The debut in the test debut. He played ahead of Ashwin in Adelaide in 2014. How can you not? Karan Sharma.
And was broadly regarded as more of a sort of batting all-rounder who could bowl some leg breaks, but got picked as a specialist bowler there, a la Cameron White in India all those years ago. Karan Sharma hits 3 sixes in 4 balls off Stark. They need 20. He's got 18 of them. I think they were 20. They were 20 behind, so they needed 21, whatever it is. They need a couple with a couple of balls to go. They need 3 to win and 2 to tie. And Mitchell Stark bowls him a Yorker, gets driven back, caught and bowled, diving away, takes the wicket. There's a run out from the last ball of the game, so they take 1 run but get run out coming for the second, and so KKR win it. Stark manages to win it for them with that last ball, but 3 overs, 1 for 55 for Mitchell Stark in that game. So he's getting the plaudits for delivering the Yorker that brings him the wicket, but gee, it was a close run thing. So those were the more interesting bits that that caught my eye. Mumbai did manage to get a win over the Punjab Kings. Jasprit Bumrah took 3 for 21 off his 4 overs again. This is ridiculous. So in a season where everyone else is getting smashed, Bumrah's bowled more overs than anybody else in the competition, and he's got by far the best economy rate. He's going at 6.5. Nobody else who's bowled more than no one who's bowled double figures overs has an economy rate that low. There's a handful who've only bowled a couple of overs, but no one who's bowled more than 9 overs is below him on economy rate. So he's just having a ridiculous, exceptional season. So so Punjab Kings lost to Mumbai. They also lost to Gujarat after being held to a low score. And the JL Lucknow team beat Chennai to stay in the hunt. KL Rahul and Quinton de Kock chased 180 easily. So we've got Rajasthan at the top. Kolkata second, Sunrisers Hyderabad go up to third with their big win. Chennai Super Kings down to fourth, although they're level on points with Lucknow and Gujarat. And then you've got Mumbai and Delhi with 3 wins apiece, so they're not gone if they could get a run on through the back half. Punjab have only won a couple of games, and RCB have won once. That's it.
Perfect. That summary is for our audience. It's also for me. I'm enjoying it weekly. The recap I require to feel like I can, if I'm asked about it, I can say a thing or two about the IPL, and it'll sound like I've listened to it or watched it. I actually did follow the game that where Travis Head was teeing off. You mentioned that earlier for the Sunrisers Hyderabad. That's where he plays, right?
Orange helmet.
And we went to the hurling on Saturday afternoon, which was quite the experience. We actually played hurling and Gaelic football on the Thursday when our first game was
Elizabeth
hurling.
Hurling.
Really cool. And then we watched the hurling. We watched Dublin play Wexford, and that was just a great life experience. Really, it was an under-21s game, I think, but still, it was the tradition of the whole thing. And when we exited and jumped on the bus and returned to what we were doing next, it was like, Hyderabad are 120 from 6 overs, and Travis has nearly 100. I'm like, okay. This is normal. This is a
normal game.
This is the experience. This is bat and ball balanced together. Anyway, not to worry. Jeff, that brings to a close season 16, episode 8 of the Final Word Cricket Podcast. If you like what we do, patreon.com/the Final Word. Get involved in our Discord. Send in a nerd pledge. There'll be not 1 but 2 episodes of Storytime this weekend. There you go. There's an exclusive if you listen this deep into the app. Daniel Norcross will be recording both of them with me. And then we'll be back into the usual rhythm with Jeff next week. There's a big interview coming on Monday as well. I know we don't like to tease our interviews too much, but it'll be worth watching the feed on Monday for a big interview dropping in that I'll be recording over the weekend. Right, that's it. We're done. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you again later in the week. Ta-da. Oh, I'm fucking...